you know, it's like putting a pair of glasses on.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, right, I've got clarity. I understand why I felt that way. So that's what I didn't like about sales. But the unethical side of it really sort of got my goat. And I met my second wife, and she was in HR, and she encouraged me to do a coaching qualification.
Yeah.
She just felt that my influencing skills would help from a coaching perspective. So I went on, at the time, it's 14 years ago now, at the time it was the highest qualification you could get in coaching. I mean, you can do a doctorate in coaching now.
Yeah, yeah.
So I did a advanced diploma through the CIPD.
Right.
That was subcontracted out to Oxford Brookes University. It was a year-long course, and God, it was tough. It was really tough. In exec coaching and mentoring, and that now I used to influence for my benefit in the sales role.
Yeah.
Now I influence for my clients' benefit.
Yeah.
And that's where the paths cross. Those influencing skills that I'd learned in my sales days have definitely stood me in good stead for what I do from a coaching perspective.
I think a good salesperson, though, does exactly what you said you do now. They influence potential clients and clients for the client's benefit. Yeah. If the client don't benefit, the relationship is short term. They're only going to buy from you once, aren't they, and think this guy's full of shit, this product's crap.
I start with the companies that I worked for. It was all about them winning, not the customer winning.
Yeah, yeah.
And my values are that business should be a win-win. You know, if my clients aren't getting value out of what I deliver, why would they employ me?
Yeah. Do you think that was indicative of the industry you were in, though, or do you think it's a business-wide, issue?
I don't know. Maybe the industry led me to believe that because it's attached to construction and margins are tight and you're chasing dream and it's just really, really, you know, everybody just scrapping, scrapping for bits.
Like a race to the bottom price-wise.
It's like a race to the bottom price-wise, and then, you know, you'd be chasing your money and you'd be like 90, 120 days. It's like, come on, I've done a job for you here. Yeah. You know, where's the fairness in that?
Yeah, and I could do with that.
And again, that fairness, that's another thing that has come to light, and you know, with my recently diagnosed condition of ADHD, you know, it's like putting a pair of glasses on.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, right, I've got clarity. I understand why I felt that way in the past. I understand why that really rubbed me up wrongly, or I didn't like that. So, you know, in terms of ADHD, there's a huge sense of being fair. Everybody's fair.
So just going back to what you said then when you were in sales and you said like the rejection was, and it, you know, getting to you. What part of it? What? How is it affecting you? And is that once we move forward onto the ADHD diagnosis, is it linked to the ADHD? Do you think?
Yeah, it is. There's a symptom within ADHD which is called rejection sensitivity.
Right.
And rejection sensitivity, obviously, it manifests a lot of negative feelings.
Yeah.
And which creates anxiety, and that also leads you down a different path. And but I've always had an inner resilience, and that is another trait, which is the positive side of ADHD, that you have a resilience, a bounce back ability. And I've had a bumpy ride in my life, like lots of people have, and this is not a tale of woe in any way, shape or form. But we seem to have an inner resilience to just push forward and think, right, well, that's happened, you know, it is what it is. Let's push it in the past, and then let's move forward and look at where we can move on, rather than, you know, dwell and you know, you met me in Starbucks 6-8 months ago, something like that.
Is it that? Well, was it during? I hate talking about pandemic, but was it during or after or after?
Well,
before?
Just one of those windows.
As it come over, everything had opened up.
Like a window of opportunity. And we met. Well, I suppose you can explain from your perspective what I looked like at that time, but
God,
I wanted space.
Oh no, you weren't the person I knew, but it was totally understandable from what you told. You know, I didn't know what you were going to tell me until you told me. And but when I saw you, your body language was different, you looked different, and I thought something's wrong here. You know, or something's not right, shall I say? This isn't Graham that I know. And then when you told me, I was like obviously shocked, and I don't know if you want to discuss this, but I was really, it was like, hey.
Yeah.
And then it all fell into place why your body language was as it was, and you know, obviously what you went through is not something that you think, I suppose, is going to happen. So I don't know how much you want to go into that. You know.
I mean, I went through a messy breakup, and that's where I want to start it, and that's where I want to leave it. And it's not been an easy time in my life, and there's lots of people that go through that. But now I understand why it's happened, because a lot of the ADHD traits have contributed to that our relationship, which is obviously sad. And I wouldn't blame anybody for not being able to deal with that, because that's really difficult when you don't know what you're dealing with.
Yeah. Both of you.
Yeah, both of us. Yeah, for us both. And that, you know, I suppose ADHD in the past can be an excuse for me.
Yeah.
It can be an excuse for the behaviours that
or a reason.
Or a reason,
A reason, Graham. I don't think you can call it an excuse because you didn't know about it, did you? I'm not telling you, mate. I'm not, but for me, there's a big difference between a reason and an excuse. An excuse to me is a lack of responsibility for your action. A reason is this happened and I maybe wasn't aware why, but now I do, and it's not happening anymore.
And I'm glad you added that last bit there. It's not happening anymore because it's not going to be an excuse going forward.
Yeah.
Because now I know, now I understand myself more than ever before. I'm now putting the building blocks in place to remedy the things that I do struggle with. Now, there will be things that I'll continue to struggle with, and this is lifelong. And at 53, I've lived most of my life. But it's not going to stop me moving forward.
Yeah.
It's going to be, I'm going to make a positive experience out of this, and I want to share my story because there's thousands of people out there that have got this condition that probably don't know.
So let's start at the beginning then, about starting your story. That's a great, way into what we're going to discuss then. So how did you come to be where you are today, knowing about the ADHD?
Yeah. Well, obviously I had my breakup, and that gave me a lot of time with myself and my thoughts. And it wasn't good, and I've ended up going to doctors, had therapy, I've had all sorts of things, support mechanisms to get me back on straight and narrow.
Yeah.
And one thing that I'd have never thought I'd have ever done is taking prescribed drugs for depression, which has been sertraline.
Yeah.
And that's a wonder drug.
Yeah, it's a common one, isn't it? It's common for people that
It's a wonder drug, and I just had a call yesterday with my doctor, and the doctor's now reduced that dosage.
Fantastic.
So I'm actually weaning myself off it.
Yeah.
I am in a better place, and there's some light at the end of the tunnel, but that's been a bumpy ride. It has been a bumpy ride, but it's not really something that I want to take because it don't feel like the real me.
Yeah.
So taking every morning is a bit of a tough one, but it's there for a reason.
Of course. Yeah.
And I hope I never have to take it again, but it is a wonder drug. I know the people that take it, and it works wonders for them as well.
Oh yeah, I know lots of people that that take sertraline and how it. I don't fully know how it works, but from what they tell me and things, and I think I read somewhere as well, and this isn't the quote exactly, but it said like if you if you continue to take medication but don't actually try and do something about the root cause of the mental health problem, then all that medication is doing is masking, you know, what the I don't want to say issue, but what the blockage or the thing that you're dealing with is. And I think obviously by you now weaning yourself down, you know, from this, it's showing that you are dealing with you're putting things in place to understand what you need to do. You know, there's nothing wrong with people that stay on it at all. You know, it is not. You know, everyone's different, aren't they?
Yeah, they are different. You know, I mean, my two kids have been fantastic. They've been such a great support to me, you know, through some tough times. And I've met a new lady in my life, and she's completely embraced me and this ADHD diagnosis, and she's been so supportive. She's been fantastic. So that's been great. Caroline, thank you very much if you listen to this.
Yeah,
you've been an absolute star.
So what led you then? What led you to how were you aware that something maybe needed diagnosing?
So one of the traits of ADHD is distraction.
Yeah.
So if you think about the digital age now that we're in, watching TikTok videos, for example, the ADHD brain wants constant stimulation. It's racing and it's looking for stimulation all the time. And TikTok's the perfect answer to that.
Yeah.
And you know, like YouTube, that's another one that's a perfect answer. So watching YouTube and then YouTube, it suggests a particular video or whatever to the recording to view. So this came up on ADHD, and I thought, all right, that's interesting. So as I look, I've used it, and I'm thinking, shit, that's me. That is me. And one of the big advocates of ADHD and a lady that's based in America called Jessica McCabe.
Right.
She's an actress. She's got a YouTube channel, and she's absolutely superb. If you look her up on YouTube, she's brilliant. She's got a great channel. It's dead light, funny, loads of great tips about ADHD and how to manage it. She's fantastic. But she did a TED talk, and there's a link to that video on the blog that I wrote.
Yeah, saw that. Yeah.
So and it's quite an emotional watch, but you know, she likens her experience to how I feel now, like putting a pair of glasses on and I can see what's gone on, and that's what Jessica does.
So on that video that you're referring to, that came up on YouTube about ADHD, and you said, "Bloody hell, that's me." Were there one specific trait of ADHD that stood out to you, or were it a number of things that you could identify as you?
Well, I mean, let's understand the term ADHD.
Yeah.
Now, ADHD is quite a new term in relation to this diagnosis. It used to be called ADD.
ADD, yeah.
I'm not too sure what the exact time was.
Attention deficit disorder, wasn't it? That
disorder, yeah. And this was, I think it was mid 80s or something.
Yeah.
New developments and research in psychological disorders become more prevalent, and ADHD, the term ADHD was born in the 1980s, so it was termed as ADD before, but now it's attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Now a lot of people with ADHD actually diss that attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, because attention deficit it sounds quite negative, doesn't it?
It does, and disorder does to me, Graham. I don't like disorder personally.
It sounds quite negative. Now, one of the positive traits of ADHD is we hyperfocus.
Yeah.
So we can really, really hyperfocus on one particular given subject and put so much time to it, and be really, really good at it. Be really, really successful. Yeah. So I don't like this attention deficit. I'm at camp as well. But a lot of people like an ADHD because the brain's looking for stimulation all the time. It's racing ahead all the time. It's like driving a Ferrari with bicycle brakes. That's how your mind goes.
Yeah.
Switching attention all the time. You might notice from our call now, you can see me, I'm might be a bit twitchy and a bit, focusing on different things. I mean, I'll show you my desk. This is attention deficit.
Right. Bloody hell.
Yeah, that's chaos.
2 cups of coffee as well and go.
Yeah, 2 cups and go on a pile of stuff. But do you know what? I know where everything is, Danny.
Yeah. I used to be like that in my first job. Honestly, when I was young, my desk were a mess, and my boss used to say to me, "You need to tidy this up." And I said, "Colin," I said, "it sounds daft, but I know where everything is." And when I tidied it up, I were knackered. I didn't know where it was.
Yeah.
Crazy it is.
So what that means for sort of day-to-day living. So, I'm sat here in my apartment now in the living area, which is a great space. It's fantastic. I love it. And I might plan to sort of tidy my bedroom up.
Yeah.
So I'll start tidying my bedroom up, and there might be an item that's in the bedroom that needs to come back into the living room or the kitchen, for example. So I'll come into kitchen, put that item in there, then I'll spot something different in kitchen, and I'll start doing something in kitchen, and I'll forget that I started tidying bedroom up.
Yeah.
Until I realise, maybe 5 minutes later, I was doing bedroom.
Yeah.
And that's your mind that's switching for that stimulation. It's found something different and it gets distracted. So generating coping mechanisms. Now there's some coping mechanisms that I have developed, even though it's been a recent diagnosis, but unconsciously to me, up until this point, I developed coping strategies to overcome things like that. So, for example, in my work, coaching is very structured.
Yeah.
There's a set structure to work to in coaching. That really, really suits my brain, because ADHD brains, they like structure. They like step by step.
Yeah.
It's like reading an instruction manual, and it's step by step.
Yeah.
If it's short, instructions, if they're short in a step by step way, or like a flow chart, like you might get from IKEA if you're doing a bit of flat pack furniture or whatever.
Yeah.
Step by step, and that brain loves that. I'm doing a vlog tomorrow about golf and ADHD, and golf's a great, massive passion of mine. And again, golf, that's another thing. It's step by step, because it's 18 holes. It's 1 hole at a time. It's 1 shot at a time.
Yeah.
So it's very, very structured.
And you're focusing on that 1 shot, aren't you, each time? You're thinking, you're hyper focused. I'm not as good as you at golfing, but I get the point of where that's where I struggle with golf, you see, because if I play golf, it takes so much of my brain power up that I can't talk to lads I'm playing with. Have a laugh, because I have to really, really focus, so I can either not talk to them and for my level, knock it straight, or I can talk and the ball's going all over, because it's like my brain's overcooking with what I have to focus on.
Well, I mean, I don't know how many golfers there are in the world, but the statistics are on ADHD. Boys and men have it more than girls and women.
Right.
But girls and women do have it.
Yeah.
And between 2 and 3 people in 10 have got ADHD, whether that's diagnosed or undiagnosed.
Yeah.
So I would guess that there's some golfers with ADHD, and professional golfers with ADHD who's got a successful career. And going on back onto the business side, and I wrote in my blog about Bill Gates and Richard Branson. They've both got ADHD. So ADHD should not be. It should not be an hurdle that we can't overcome. It should not be, it should not be a barrier to neurotypical brains not adopting the help of somebody with ADHD.
Yeah.
Because we have got some great skills that we can, deliver. In all sorts of aspects of life.
So are there any traits that, let's say going back to, let's say, you're in a partnership or a marriage, and are there any traits that, one person could identify in a person that maybe doesn't know they're living with ADHD? Anything that you think, oh, if you saw someone and you'd think, oh, that person might, be living with ADHD. Yeah, any like common traits or anything?
Yeah, what a great question. Now, one thing that my girlfriend's noticed is if we're watching a film, I'll start watching it,
yeah,
and then I'll switch off, and I might pick my phone up. Because it's looking for stimulation.
Yeah.
Now, that's definitely one trait that probably annoyed previous partners. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that fidgety.
Yeah.
Fidgeting, not keeping still. I'll pick my fingers, mate.
Yeah.
Pick my fingers, or might pick an hair out of my ear.
Yeah, just something to keep you.
Yeah.
Going, if you like. Yeah. Keep your brain moving.
But again, there's ways around that. I mean, I bought a fidget cube.
Yeah.
You can buy fidget cubes on Amazon.
Yeah.
Or one of these little spinners, what kids have.
Yeah.
A couple of them. And that just sort of seems to keep me attention, so I can sit still.
Yes, yeah, I get you.
For a length of time.
Well, my sons were diagnosed with dyslexia probably about a year ago, or close to a year ago. We could see that they were struggling to take things in. It happened around lockdown when we were homeschooling, and it was a bloody nightmare. And we're thinking, I'm saying, Jude, you need to concentrate, you need to try, don't matter. And I'm thinking he's not trying it, and it won't going in. And this led us to taking him to this specialist in Brighouse. She was fantastic. And she gave him a full diagnosis, and we've got a proper full report that we give to school and stuff like that. And then we've got him, the point I'm making is we've got him like them fidget cubes. He loves them, stuff like that. He's always sort of thinking 3 steps ahead of what he's doing. I said to him, focus on now, not what comes next, Yeah. I don't know if that's a condition, but I can,
There's a lot of people with dyslexia that have got ADHD.
Yeah.
Dyspraxia seems to be another one as well.
Yeah.
That has to do ADHD. I've not been diagnosed for those two, but who knows? I know that my spelling isn't particularly good sometimes.
Yeah.
Another coping mechanism for poor spelling or written work is Grammarly. It's fantastic.
Oh yeah, I use that. Yeah.
It's £100 a year.
Yeah. It's brilliant.
And it saves me a lot of embarrassment because there's always somebody who's going to pick you up on a bad piece of grammar or a piece of spelling, but that's just who we are, isn't it?
It is. So how has it changed your life positively, knowing what you know about yourself now? What have you learned to accept about yourself? Because I did a podcast with a lady called Tasha, and she works with ADHD in children, and she calls it a superpower to the kids. She says it's a superpower is ADHD, and being, neurodiverse, as she, uses the term, which is fantastic, as opposed to, she says it's a superpower. So how is it, what positives is it given for you? What has it taught you? What have you really grabbed hold of and thought, this is me?
I just want to go back to, did you say her name was Natasha?
Tasha.
She a coach?
Tasha. Yes. Well, she's a like a therapist as well. And I'm just digging her details out now. Actually, just bear with me. She's a lovely lady. And we did a podcast with her. I'm just digging the details out now, Graham, and I'll send them to you. She's an absolutely fantastic woman. Really nice, really positive. Tasha Walsh, her name is.
Okay. When you said Tasha, I thought, all right, because I'm actually working with a lady called Natasha.
Ah, right. Yeah, Tasha Walsh.
Yeah, so I'm working with an ADHD coach called Natasha Hickling. And she's based over in Tadcaster, but, we have, initially I've had some weekly coaching sessions with her.
Yeah.
So the coach is being coached.
Yeah. But that's what everyone does, don't they? Anyone that don't improve.
Yeah, you can't fix your own problems, can you?
No.
So, and you can't necessarily see them. So, I'm working with an ADHD coach called Natasha Ricklin, and she's fantastic. And I found Natasha on a website called ADHD UK.
Right.
So I'm just conscious, because this is the ADHD in me. I'm racing ahead on a different tangent. You've
No, it's fine. No, it's fine.
Question, because that is a natural trait of ADHD.
Yeah.
I just go off.
That's good. Yeah, but see, this is really good, Graham, because like for anyone listening to this or seeing this, it might help people stop and think. Do you know what I mean? And think. And for me, I didn't massively notice that. Do you know what you said? But I could see it were there. Now, to me, it's not an issue. But I suppose in certain situations, for some people, it might be. Yeah. They might think, well, where's this guy going now? Bloody hell, he's gone from left to right, from up to down, you know. And it's good that more things like when it's talked about, you think, maybe.
So you're going to have to remind me your question again.
So it was going back to like sort of the diagnosis and what you've learned about yourself and what you've learned about what it is. And like Tasha Walsh says, you know, it's a superpower. So what positives has it brought into your life? How has it changed your life positively? Because, you know, for me, as you said at the start of this, it's not a negative thing.
No.
What has it given you?
It's given me the confidence that, you know, at 53 years of age now, I actually understand me. I know who I am. I'm still on that discovery. I'm still trying to find out who I am, but I never knew I knew I was a bit different.
Yeah.
And I felt maybe a little bit socially awkward. And, you know, going back to school, I didn't necessarily mix into groups particularly well. I had a small group of friends. I had extended friends, but they didn't, you know, I've had relationships, you know, platonic relationships where they've just fizzled out or they've broken down. And that, you know, it might have been down to my ADHD, and I've realised that. But I'm accepting me for me now, and that's the big positive that's come out of it. That, you know, I wasn't able to control that, but now I'm putting those steps in place to be able to control it.
So when you say like relationship, you know, broke down, and you know, I think we've all had that, you know, experience, haven't we? And I think people come and go in your life for reasons. You know, they're there at the time they're meant to be, and they're not there when they're meant to be.
Yeah.
But what aspects of these relationships, they're not breaking down, because people just come and go out of your life, don't they? What aspects of ADHD do you think had contributed to that happening?
You see, one of the other traits in ADHD is emotional regulation.
Right. Which is?
It could, it's managing your own emotions.
Yeah.
So that could come out in frustration, which could be seen as anger. It could be, you know, emotional, being really, really emotional about a situation, really upset. You know, I'm an emotional guy, and I can cry with the best of them.
Yeah.
But I'm not ashamed of that.
Yeah.
I'm proud. I say to my kids, you know, emotions are emotions.
Yeah.
And whether you're angry or whether you're upset, that emotion has got to come out. So, you know, you wouldn't say to your child, would you, don't laugh?
No, you wouldn't. No.
Don't laugh unless they were laughing at somebody in a way that were derogatory. Yeah. But you wouldn't say to your kid, don't laugh if they're having fun.
Yeah.
Why should you say to your kid, don't cry?
Yeah, it's very, very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah. Should you say that? And again, anger and frustration, it's got to come out, hasn't it?
Yeah.
If not, you're left with it, and then that creates anxiety.
It just manifests then, doesn't it? It gets deeper.
So the emotional regulation has been tough, and that can really, really have a knock-on effect in relationships, as you can imagine.
In what way then? Can you give us an example? Doesn't have to be like, you know, between you and a romantic partner or an ex-wife or anything, but just how can that have an issue? How can that affect a relationship?
I mean, there's, because of the fairness. Well, I talked about the fairness trait within ADHD. People, you know, ADHD people want to see fairness. So if I see something that's unfair, that might get my eccles up, and that manifest itself to the wider world has been quite big.
Yeah.
You know, the behaviours might be observable by everybody else as quite, God, what's up with him?
Yeah, body language, tonality, that sort of thing.
All that kind of thing. All that kind of thing that's, you know, it doesn't look attractive, but the ADHD brain can't control that. It just goes with it. But, you know, these are the kind of things that I'm working on, you know, to overcome these things that may happen in the future. And the, you know, in coaching, self-awareness is the first key, is the first step with anybody who's generating self-awareness. Yeah. What do I do as an individual that is maybe not good, or we could do it in a better way? We generate that self-awareness. Now I've got this self-awareness with this diagnosis. Now I'm putting the steps to overcome those things that I don't like, that I don't particularly like about myself. So that's how it can manifest itself in relationships. It can just go a bit off kilter, really.
So, but you know, obviously now you're in a position where you understand your behaviours and you understand maybe the triggers to the behaviours.
Yeah.
From a personal perspective first, then, and then a business perspective second. What is it giving you then? What, you know, what is it? Why? How has it improved you? Knowing.
Well, from a personal perspective, it's given me a license to talk more about it. Well, I'm on a business perspective. I'm not, you know. I thought straight away, you know, should I come out about this? Should I tell people about this? You know, is it going to have a negative effect? And I thought to myself, well, I don't care, because I am who I am. Yeah. And for once in my life, I'm at that stage where I am who I am, and people will accept me or not, as the case may be. And like I said, you know, 2 and 3 in 10 people have got this condition. So I don't know how far-reaching your podcasts are, Danny, but I would guess that there'll be definitely a percentage of people that's got ADHD listening to this podcast today.
Definitely, like colleagues in the workplace, customers, clients, suppliers, everyone you mix with, you know, have got it. And like I say, I think for me, this is brilliant that, you know, people, myself included, can look and think, because stuff you're telling me, Graham, it's giving me light bulbs in my head around myself, around people I know, you know, and you know, I'm thinking, well, am I maybe somewhere in there? Or do we all have parts of our personality and behaviours that are on the spectrum naturally? That's my feeling behind it.
I'm sure there is, and you know, there's lots of, you know, LinkedIn is obviously, we're both part of a business community, and on LinkedIn there's loads of different groups, not just about ADHD. There's autism, there's all sorts of different groups, and more so about neurodiversity.
Yeah.
And I think that's where things are going now. You know, there's the diversity inclusion bit. It is certainly going arms and legs. You know, obviously the Black Lives Matter movement, that's pushed that boundary. And neurodiversity is obviously, I don't know whether it's tagging it onto that. I don't want to talk out of turn, but it's certainly within that group. And what for me, it's like we are all equals.
Yeah.
No one any better or any worse than anybody else. And we should all be respectful of each other and be kind to each other at the end of the day. Because
I think,
we're just different. We're all just different.
Well, I think, like you said, you don't want to speak out of turn. But I think if you feel that, then it's not out of turn.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. You know, talking out of turn has been disrespectful to a race, a religion, an individual, saying nasty things, hurting people. That's out of turn. But saying what you feel in a positive way, and if you feel that, you know, being neurodiverse is in that ballpark of the Black Lives Matter and things like that, and for me, it's raising awareness to other people that you know, like you said, just try and, for me, before you judge, and this is applicable to everyone, me and you included, just take 5 seconds before you jump in and judge someone. You know, like if someone's like, you're getting served at a coffee shop and they're a bit funny, You know, maybe they're having a bad day, maybe they're going through a divorce, maybe the kid's ill. You know, you don't know, do you? Some people are just, you know, negative and a bit grouchy, but most people aren't. And we've all got stuff going through. And I think it's a lesson for me that I try and tell myself, and I don't always follow it, is before I judge a bit of grouchy service or someone that's a bit funny with me, try and just step back and just get over myself and think, well, is there something going on in that person's life that we don't know?
Yeah, well, that's it for sure. It's people have got their own battles and challenges, haven't they? All the time. It's a tough one, and we are too quick to judge, sadly.
Yeah. So
I've been that person as well.
Yeah.
I'm sure you have in the past. But
we all do it. It's a human trait, isn't it, Graham? You know, it's not something that no one has ever done and no one will never do again. You know, it's just, I think it's like what you're trying to state here is being aware of yourself, and self-awareness is the key to success, in my opinion. You know, if you can know yourself, then you're more than halfway onto being successful in whatever you want to do. And success isn't always money, cars, houses. It's knowing. To me, success is knowing yourself, being happy with yourself, and not giving a shit what people think.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of time, you know, if someone might say something negative about me, I'll say, well, I don't know they do, but if they did, I'd say, has that guy got my phone number? If he hasn't, then he doesn't know me well enough to form a judgment on me.
That's right. Yeah.
That's how I use it. You know. I will literally, there's about 2 or 3 or 4 people that I will, you know, listen to. Everyone else, and I don't mean that disrespectfully, you know, I mean in general, you know, where if me and you were talking and you said, oh, Dan, I don't think you've approached that right, I'd listen to you again because I respect you for what you know and what you've done and your experience and your knowledge. And I'd sit and go, because I know you're a decent guy, I know you're a good guy, and I know that you wouldn't criticize anyone or say anything untoward. And that's how I judge people. Are they nice people? Are there someone that I'd want to work with? Are there someone that I'd, you know, looking at how employing people, I've shifted my thinking into, is this the type of person that I would invite to my wedding?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's one of the simplest things that I've worked on. I know it doesn't always work for, you know, recruiting staff, and you're the expert at that, not me, but that's one of the things I look at. Would I invite this person to my wedding? You can't tell that in an interview, but as you get to know someone, that's what I've worked on. So positives then of knowing who you are.
Well, there's a long list of positives in terms of traits of ADHD, which is a bit of a, I'm not swerving your question. But you know, the real positives of obviously is just understanding me.
Yeah.
For other people, it's people understanding me as well, and you know, fortunately, I've managed to latch onto a new lady in my life who's willing to go on that journey with me. She's not running for hills. She's trying to work with me and understand who I am, because you know, I don't want another failed relationship. And for my kids, it's good for my kids to know who the dad is as well. But they love me all the same. My sister as well. You know, my sister's been fantastic. My sister lives on the East Coast, but you know, even though there's miles apart between us, we're very, very close. So for those people to understand me, they just accept me for who I am anyway.
Yeah.
But it's great to just put those glasses on and actually realise everything that's happened in my life in the past. There's been some contributing factors of this diagnosis that's obviously now brought this realisation of who I am. So really, really understanding who I am has been the massive, massive positive. In terms of business, well, I know that what I do for a job absolutely ticks my boxes without a shadow of a doubt. I love helping people. I absolutely love helping people, and that is one of the traits of ADHD. We are generous as people. You know, we're creative. We've got a sense of fairness, and we just, you know, we're just putting a smile on somebody else's face. So, you know, I go back to what I said earlier on in this podcast, where I influence people for their benefit, and I do. I genuinely influence people for their benefit. Yeah, I've got to earn a living. I've got to pay my bills.
Yeah.
But it feels like I'm playing with my train set every day when I'm coaching somebody.
Yeah, brilliant.
It really does, because I can influence somebody to be better. And when you get that gratitude back, saying, you know, you've helped me tenfold, or that person's just elevated themselves to a different level, and it's massive. That's massive. That's more than the price of it.
Yeah. Can't pay for that, can you? That money's not going to give you that, is it? You know, it's money. Money's a byproduct of what you do.
Yeah, definitely. That feeling that it gives me. So knowing that this condition is not going to stop me from being the person who I am and the coach who I am.
Yeah.
Because all my successes in my life today have been with ADHD.
Yeah. Unknowingly,
all my successes. And I've had quite a few, both personally, on the sporting field, and obviously in business as well. You know, I've travelled the world coaching and training people.
So a couple of questions to finish then. First one is, what are the things for someone to look out for that might alert them that the person they're working with, living with, as an employer, as a partner, as a husband, as a wife, as a son, as a daughter, as a grandma, as a granddad, what are the things that they could look out for, or signs to make them maybe understand or see, or maybe think, is this person living with, you know, ADHD or a form of it?
It's quite a difficult one, because, you know, if you think about all the people that's lived around me in my lifetime, they've not diagnosed it.
No.
You know, because they're not skilled enough to diagnose.
Yeah. But what things would I look? What things would maybe, you know, what traits are there that we could?
Organisation, maybe a little bit untidy, getting the ball over the line. Sometimes when something's really, really difficult to do, people with ADHD, they'll procrastinate.
Yeah.
They'll really, really procrastinate. So one of the things that I really struggle to do, but when I get that hyper-focused mindset on, and I can really do it and push through, is I can write well. I've realised I can write well.
Yeah.
And I think my blog post when I announced to the world that I've got ADHD, I was absolutely super proud of that. That gave me a good feeling inside, and I did that in 3 days. Yeah. Now that might seem a long time for somebody who writes, you know, for somebody who's naturally gifted at writing, they might knock that off in an hour. I don't know. But for me, it took me 3 days, on and off.
Yeah. It
took me 3 days. Because I can make silly, you know, people with ADHD can make silly mistakes. So silly little mistakes would be an identifier, you know, and let's take writing, for example. So it would be grammatical, it would be spelling mistakes. It might not really make sense, but it's making sense to ADHD brain, but not to the neurotypical brain.
Yeah.
Things like that. Not finishing things off. Just losing focus, like, you know, not. Like, if I like doing a bit of woodwork, for example, and I might start out with good intentions, and it's all great, and then I'll look back and think, I've made a mistake there. Now people might say, well, that happens anyway.
Yeah.
But that's me losing focus towards back end of the job.
Yeah.
So I've got to know that I've got to have structure in place to overcome that. So like my coaching, there's a structure to it. So I can't colour outside the lines. I've got to follow that structure. Same with my training. So there's the little things like that. Untidiness, that's another trait of it. Appearing to be forgetful, losing. I mean, one of the worst things I do. It's all coming back to me now because the brain's racing all over. I can drive up the road.
Yeah.
And I can forget my wallet. Now you might say, well, I do that.
Yeah.
But if you do it 3 times a week, is that not a bit of a warning sign? And then I can come back from my wallet, and then drive back out again and realise I forgot my phone.
Yeah.
Or double check myself, have a locked door.
Yeah.
Little
do that.
Yeah, I know. But
I do that.
Yeah, but these little things where you can be quite forgetful.
Do you think though, and this is just my experience and my brain, I'm like that, and I think it's because I've got so much going on in my head, you know, like we all have. And I'll do that. Literally yesterday, I went home for my dinner, and I got in my car, started my car up, put seatbelt on, and I couldn't picture in my head that I'd locked the door, even though I knew I had.
Yeah.
Even though I knew I had. And I got out of the car and I thought, dog's in house. If anyone gets in, they'll have dog, and I don't want that, you know. So I got out of my car. I knew I'd locked it. I just couldn't see myself doing it in my head. Checked it, locked, back in car.
Yeah, I can remember going backwards and forwards, you know, in the past, and you know, back up to house thinking I forgot to do that. I forgot to do that. Yeah. It's awful because it's tiring. You're having to overthink things.
Yeah.
It's really, really difficult. Whereas to somebody neurotypical, it's quite an easy task.
Just do it on autopilot and know they've done it.
Yeah, just do it on careless mistakes. Impulsivity, saying things out of turn, that's another thing.
What like then? When you say impulsivity and things out of turn, what like? I don't mean real life examples for you, but you know, what sort of things could I, or what could a neurotypical person see a neurodiverse person doing?
Well, they might just say something out of turn, make a comment about somebody without really thinking it through.
Yeah.
They could overtalk.
Right.
You probably guess I can overtalk. They can cut through you. So you might be, you know, in mid sentence, and I can just cut straight through you. So I know I've got to work really hard, especially as a coach, because one of the key disciplines of being a coach is being a great listener.
Yeah.
And coaching's given me that. That's developed that skill unbeknown to me.
Yeah.
So I've learned the art of listening and listening, not just listening to the words, listening to what's not been said as well.
Yeah. That's brilliant. That.
Called active listening. Called active listening. So, you know, looking at the body language, is the body language mirroring what's coming out of the mouth?
Yeah.
Tonality.
Yeah.
It's those sort of key skills and things like that that coaching's helped me develop. Obviously, something that I didn't have when I didn't know I had ADHD.
So that's like a symptom of, you know, ADHD, is that maybe you don't always take in what someone's saying. You're listening to them, but you're not hearing them.
Yeah.
And you sort of, I can't remember what he said. Is like you can't grasp how something has made that other person feel.
Yeah, I mean, you could be perceived as being quite ignorant because, you know, you might be saying something and it might not be engaging to you.
Yeah.
You might not find it stimulating. So then, you know, you'll switch off.
Literally like that, yeah.
Literally switch off and
look away.
And look away and looking for something else that's going to stimulate your mind.
Interesting. So last question then. You know, you've continually said, what's been great for me is that I know who I am. I know who I am. Yeah. Who are you?
Who am I? God, what a question now. Put me on spot there, Dan. I just know I'm a good guy. I'm a really, really down-to-earth, good guy, honest Yorkshireman, wants to do well by his family, his friends, my partner, my business. I just want to live a fulfilled life with this condition, because it's not a barrier anymore. It's a revelation.
Would it be fair then to say that everything that you are and everything that you want to be, ADHD has made you better in all those areas?
Yeah, probably. And I think it's gonna make me even better.
Yeah.
Because, you know, tomorrow morning I've got another ADHD coaching session, and I'm looking to speaking to Natasha, because we can take some other things off. You know, keeping on the straight and narrow is my big challenge at the moment, and making sure that I'm generating enough business, filling the funnel.
Yeah.
That's what my key goal is now.
Yeah.
Funnel from a work perspective.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat there. You know, I know the feeling with that. I'm launching a couple of new things, and it's just getting that funnel now, working on the funnel, getting that, you know, and stuff like that. So, well, no, Graham, I think, you know, for me, that's a perfect way to end it. You know, we said at the outset, we wanted this to be positive around ADHD, and I don't see any reason why anything could be negative around it. But for you to finish that and say that what you are and what you want to be and what you want to become, ADHD has made you better and will make you better moving forward, for me is the best way for anyone neurodiverse and neurotypical to understand the superpower that is ADHD. So really, you know, appreciate you sharing this. It's been fantastic. I've loved it. You know, as you're saying stuff, my head's firing off going, oh, yeah. And I'm sure other people that listen to this will, for themselves, for people they know, for colleagues, for friends, you know.
Yeah. And I hope that this podcast reaches a far audience, and there's hope out there for people, because it can be quite difficult for the person with ADHD and the families around them. It can be difficult. I know that from my reflections and experiencing that. And if this goes out and helps even one person, you know, somebody reached out to me from my blog post on LinkedIn, a guy from my past, from my sales days, and he reached out to me and says, "Can I talk to you?" He says, "My son's just been diagnosed with ADHD." I'm thinking, brilliant. Great. It served its purpose. So I hope this does the same thing. And if people want to reach out to me, by all means,
can do.
I mean, we could probably put some links on.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, definitely. I'll put on the page. I'll put all your links and, you know, where people can find you. Because as you're talking, I'm thinking, and I'm sure you've thought of this. You know, this could be another string to your bow. This, you know, people, you know, and I don't mean that in a, you know, obviously, you know, from a commercial aspect. What I mean is you can help people, and it could be another offering to what you do. You know.
Well, we're very entrepreneurial at ADHD brains. So, and obviously the likes of Richard Branson and Bill Gates, who I've mentioned before, obviously they've proven that. Yeah. So I'm thinking about setting up a business group in the UK for ADHD business owners.
It's a great idea.
So I think that's what I'm going to do on LinkedIn. That's my next.
Fantastic idea, that.
So. I'll let you know.
I think that's great
when it goes live.
It's good for networking opportunities, good for learning, good for sharing, good for, you know, I think, like, you know, sort of, for me, it's nice to listen to someone or speak to someone, and you can think, bloody hell, that's me. They understand me. They understand what I'm experiencing. I don't just mean, you know, about neurodiversity. I mean, we're all different, but, you know, I love it when I can think, God, that's me, that, or they understand where I'm coming from. Because very, from my perspective, I know very few people that really think and they understand me. You know what I mean? And so I think doing that's a fantastic idea.
There's a way out. There's definitely a way out. People think that this is a disability. It's not a disability. It is a superpower. It is a super strength. You know,
brilliant.
And go forward with it. And that would be my advice. And if anyone wants to chat to me, I'd welcome the conversation.
Fantastic. Well, I'm gonna that last line you've just put there. That will be the title of the podcast. It's not a disability. It's a superpower. That'll be the title of the podcast, because you couldn't have finished it better, Graham.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, mate.
Just before we finish, I just send my thoughts and prayers to all the people in Ukraine. It's a tough time at the moment.
It is. It's you know, sometimes you feel a bit, you know, sort of sometimes think, should I be posting stuff online about my business and what I do and things like that? And I was thinking that, and then someone that I follow on LinkedIn, Leah Turner, she's like a LinkedIn, I don't know her, but I follow her, and she put a great post out saying, well, yeah, you should. You know, people have, you know, as awful as she didn't say it like this, but as awful as the situation is anywhere in the world, you've still got to continue to try and build and run your business, your life, and everything. So So yeah, it's odd times we're in, and I never thought in my lifetime I'd see this happen. I didn't. I didn't.
Terrible.
It's all.
And I'm just glad it's not us, and I hope it's not us going forward.
Exactly. Yeah. I was just going to say that. I hope it's not us moving forward. So yeah, I really appreciate it, Graham. It's been amazing as this, and thanks so much for your time, your honesty, and it's been great learning for me. Thanks very much, bud.
Thanks a lot, Danny.
Cheers, mate.